through. I wonder what the doc will think of the new wallpaper. Don't seem too nervous when presenting new wallpaper to doctor.
Vision, value vision.
Honestly, I don't really know, but I think you should get your pitch anyway.
Could I,
don't
would
really
you
know.
mind
Yeah.
if I gave my presentation?
Please.
Thank you. Excuse me. So today so far we've been talking about the importance of, so I'm going to talk about ways to measure it in vivo, that is in the person, that is in your patients. So I'm just a brief overview about what we're going to be discussing. Macular event is an important, it has anatomic locations, the fovea, which is responsible for all your fine details, such as central vision. It's a blue light filter and an antioxidant which should help prevent age-related disease. So why should we measure method things? So as we discussed, it could be a potential predictor for risk in AMD. Now, with the human and economic impact of AMD in the world, which will be increasing with the increasing life expectancy, why not be able to reduce some of those risks of this disease also? There is an influence on visual inflection and as well as visual comfort from that. So studies have shown that vision under blue light conditions, also glare conditions, have improved with augmentation of pigment. So there are several different techniques to measure macular pigment in a person. All these techniques are very different, and it's important to be consistent with how you measure ocular pigment. Psychophysical measurements requires color matching, optometry mostly, gone out the window. Dramatic flicker photography and customized heteropavic photometry as well. Physical methods that require limited subject, and sometimes people call them optical methods, or sometimes objective. But we like to call them invisible methods. They're experimented reticuloscopy with spectrometry, which autofluorescence. I'm going to be discussing some of these techniques with you today. So the first one I'm going to discuss, flicker photometry. We use a research model called macular. There are lots of clinical devices out there on the market. Downstairs. Ask questions. So for this one, subjects are required to make eye matches between a blue, green, and green wavelength. With our device, the target will be flickering until that isoluminometric, it will be, and then appears still to the subject. And we take that radiant measurement for the group, and we calculate the log ratio of the radiance absorbed at the blue light that absorbed at the macular peripheral reference point. Now, these are some of the devices that our research, this baby brother, clinical, and then this is where we get also downstairs. It's been fully validated, and we take this technique as the standard that we compare all the devices to and use on our own research. Now, it accounts for ocular radiance splatter reference point. If you have cataracts, it doesn't matter. You'll still get an accurate measurement. Now, the device is relatively inexpensive, especially when you compare it to a lot of the optical devices. And there's no need for foundations. And it's difficult for some subjects, especially children, regular people. So we send in a wavelength of light, and the wavelength of light hits the molecules, the platinoid, and it sends back a different wavelength that's very specific to the molecule. And this light can then be analyzed. Fundus autofluorescence, the lipofuscin in the retina. And the lipofuscin is a fluoroform that's located in the retinal down here. It's excited at a certain wavelength with peak expectations between 490 and 5 times. And it emits an autofluorescence that peaks between 590 and 630 meters. Now, macular pigment absorbs between 405 themes. The peak absorptions, the macular pigments is located anterior to the retinal pilium. Therefore, if you send in excitation light, if it's within the wavelength that is absorbed by macular pigment, it'll be absorbed, which is the RPE of lipofuscin. Therefore, the emitted autofluorescence of the light will be attenuated by the macular pigment. So, the device we use in our lab is the Heidelberg spectroscopy. It's a confocal scanning stethoscope. It uses dual wave fluorescence, which means it takes 2 images at the same time, which actually we take a 30-second video, which takes about 300 images, which takes it in a blue light wavelength. And you can see here that with most macular pigment, the blue light is attenuated, whereas the green is not. So it takes these 2 images, which takes about 300, like I said, and then it aligns about averages about each of them. Now, you can subtract the damages, and you'll get the amount of macular pigment. The pros amount, it only takes several minutes to perform. Little subject compliance and performance full facial development like us running device.
Mr. Turrl, before you go any further, you came to our office today, ripped clothes, dirty clothes, soaking wet. I need you to explain yourself. What's going on here? What do you? I don't follow.
Well, if it would help to convey the honesty and passion and rigor that I take in my job as a rep with I Care, I'll tell you the story, although it will be painful for me. However, it's a long story. So, my wife and I have been together for 40 years, and I have not always been a great man in that time. I have desires and needs for physical companionship, and sometimes I've found myself in places where I will take a car ride and go to a neighborhood that I don't live in and find companionship. And last night I was in a neighborhood that I knew but I don't live in, and I picked up a young woman, and when things were done, she stole my wallet. And my car didn't have any gas in it. It was running on fumes. And I knew that if I got stuck out there, my car, I have to get it towed. My wife is going to have to pay for the tow. She's going to find out what I've been doing. And so with the little gas that I had left, I drove hoping that I could find someone that could lend me $10, $20, anything to get home to my family. And I kept driving, and I came upon this young man, this young white man in this neighborhood who's clearly new to the neighborhood. The neighborhood's changing, and he gets out of a U-Haul truck, and I say, "Excuse me, sir, I need $10, $20, anything so I can get home to my family." I explained what I was doing there. I was honest with him. And I said, "Is there anything that you can do to help me get home?" And he said, I am here. I'm moving into this house. I have everything inside. The one thing I don't have inside is this couch. I need to get this couch up into my apartment. If you help me get this couch into my apartment, then I'll give you $10 for gas to go home. And I'm desperate, but I'm an old man. I don't get it up the beginning of the hallway, the stairwell up to his third floor walk up, and there's no way. I can feel my heart. There's no way I can get it up there. So I just tell him, I say, "Look, just give me the $20. I need to get home." And he says, "Look, old man, you haven't helped me out here. I can't give you $20, but I'll tell you, I have to bring this U-Haul back to the U-Haul store, and it's 3 miles away, and by this point it's 1 a.m. in the morning. And so, he says, please, you follow me in your car. There's of gas in my tank," and he pays for it. And I got in my car, he got in his U-Haul, he made the turn to go to the U-Haul store, and I turned left and I went home.
Just like that.
And then this morning in your parking lot, this afternoon, I was walking out of my car and I slipped and fell and I ripped my shirt and I got soaked in water, and so that's why I look like this. But what I'm really here to talk about is I care, and the products and services that we can deliver, and it's really what I'm most passionate about. So if you don't mind, I'll go back to my presentation. And the effects of the ocular medium is unclear. However, thinking about starting a research project that investigates the effects of cataracts on the spectrology effect of the method to see if there's an effect. Now, there's to measure macular pigment using reflectance. Now, reflectance is the quantitative measurement of light reflected off objects. Now, you can either do a couple things.
Was that the end of your presentation?
No, yeah.
you, Mr. Turrl.
Oh,
If you want to
yeah.
leave your... Pretty sure I was about to be murdered there.
Got out of it again. Dodged another one.
Well, it's, I don't think the doctor's coming in. It's already past hours anyway. Let me get out of here. Forgot my mug.